Hello, this is Greg Allison, Green Greg's Garden and Worm Farm, coming to you on the 14th of August, 2020. And we're going to talk about food shortages. We're going to talk about it being worse than you imagine, especially in China. Get this. You've heard about the Yangtze River Valley being flooded. We've talked about that for months on end. And of course, you're aware that the Yangtze River Valley produces 40% of China's food. And it also has 70% of the rice production. We know rice is important in China, right? Well, get this. Now the Yellow River has flooded. Yes, the Yellow River, the Huanghe Yellow River, which is in North China, has flooded. So China has got floods north and south in the two major river basins of the country. And it's wiping out their crops, just wiping them out. So the Chinese crops are at great risk. On top of that, China imports 20 to 30% of all their crops, which is quite a bit. In fact, their imports have grown from like $14 billion a year to $105 billion a year in imports recently. And we're going to have a harder time importing. And they're buying right now, they're buying everything they can, which is going to greatly affect the world food supply. Because also, as you may be aware, we're having food problems elsewhere in the world, not just China. We just had that big drench coast storm that went through the Midwest. Principally, it hit Iowa and 7 other states. It took out a third of the corn crop in Iowa, and Iowa being our #1 corn producing state. Fully a third of their crop was laid flat. Not only that, they lost grain elevators, irrigation equipment. They lost the silos. All these things that they use in Iowa to store the grain, a lot of that was lost. A lot of grain that was stored was probably lost along with that. So we have some potential issues in this country also with food supply, given weather and other things. So it's interesting. The weather is getting pretty challenging. So in China, let me show you an article here. A quick screen share, and bada bing, bada bang. There's your Yellow River Valley. That's not what I want to show you here. Let me show you this article right here. Bang. This shows right here. Heavy rains hits China's Yellow River Basin, bringing floods to large swaths of the country. Two big river basins, right? So, yeah, they're in a tough situation. So let me unshare that. There we go. It's a case that they have even instituted now what they call Operation Clean Plate, or excuse me, Operation Empty Plate. Yeah, not clean plate. Yeah, that's what you want to do after you. No, they start out with an empty plate. This was instituted by President Xi Jinping. And the reason he instituted this, well, originally this program started in 2013, and it was just for the government elite because they were throwing these big lavish fees on the government side, and they didn't want to be too lavish in front of people, so they tried to evoke a little bit of austerity. And now Xi Jinping has evoked this down onto the people themselves. Operation Empty Plate. Well, is that the way to start a mill? Well, just to get more precise about Operation Empty Plate, it so happens that in Chongqing, they've got LED prompts, which are there to remind people to eat frugally. And they even have systems are put in place to supervise. They expect me in the restaurants to do this, to supervise their customers, their clients, to make sure that they eat frugally, whatever that means. But the Wuhan catering industry has come up with a new twist on that. They call it N-1. Well, it sounds like what we'd put in a formula back when we were doing summations in mathematics from 0 to N-1, or whatever N is, right? Well, in this case, N is the number of people in a party going into a restaurant and eat. So if you bring in 5 people, 1 doesn't get a meal. If you bring in 3 people, if you bring in 3 people, 1 doesn't get a meal, 2 eats. If you bring in, if you bring in 1 person, oh my gosh, I guess you're just gonna be a sad individual, right? So it just so happens that with this Operation Empty Plate, we're not talking about clean plates here in America. That's a wholly different philosophy. Talk about empty plate. that is just the beginnings. But is it going to be enough? Because we know in China, even the food storage bins, the granaries, their silos, when you go in, we've seen pictures where people walk in and pick up the corn and it just smashes in their hands because it's already spoiled. It's because of all the rain, the humidity. What is the cause of all this spoilage of corn? So we have to really look at that and consider. China's got 1.4 billion people to feed. They actually, as I said, import 20 to 30% of their food. But China's not been making friends around the world. Xi Jinping's military adventures pushing on all of his neighbors to try to claim territory, backfiring. Is his aggressive policy backfiring on his country's ability to eat now, because a lot of the countries he trades with to get food may not be so inclined to trade them. There's trade embargoes going on. And then again, they may not have the supplies. They've cut off water from China to the rivers flowing down to southeast China, down into Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos. Those people are not happy. They also import food from Vietnam. India. You remember that little border dispute in India? Yeah. And the United States. I mean, they order $16 billion a year in food from the United States alone. Of course, and they've already put in an order, big order this year. But we may have a hard time filling it. Of course, we probably fill those first. Does that mean we have Operation Empty Plate here in the United States? But will Operation Empty Plate be sufficient to ensure the food they're going to have stretches? Well, the officials in China went a step further. They said that all the farmers will, by definition, meet their quotas, their production quotas. And if they don't, the governors of the states will be fired. Well, how do you do that when you just don't even have it to grow? Well, obviously, they fudged the numbers. So they did this way back in the 1950s. And what happened? Famine. So is China going into a famine? Really? I mean, we're talking really seems like the four horsemen are riding. We're talking about, wag the dog, potential warfare. It's a big threat of war right now. We're talking famine. We have locust plagues. We have floods. There's earthquakes going off in diverse places. Yeah, remember that quote, that prediction? Some really strange places are having earthquakes. There are all kinds of things going down and around right now that really are going to challenge people to eat and survive. That's why you need to prep. That's why you need to go with prepwithgreg.com and get $100 off of a 4-week food supply. You can get that. I would get it right now. I would go now because I'm expecting food prices to go boom. And get this. This food's good for 25 years. What you pay for it today, it's still going to be good 20, 24 years from now, 25 years from now. And then what are food prices going to be? You're going to get a bargain. You may pay a little bit more for it now, but it's going to last you if you don't eat it now. If you don't require it to survive now, and in the future, that's a huge investment. Yeah, I definitely eat it by then. It'll probably actually last longer, but it's going to be a great investment. It's going to save you a lot of money down the road, especially if you need prepping supplies later, because as we go along, that stuff's just going to get higher and higher in price. The food prices are already going up, but I'm expecting that it's about to hit the throttle, especially with look at the grain with Iowa, with a third of the corn crop grown. You know what? Corn oil goes in everything. We use corn oil in so many products in America. What's going to happen with these products? Well, there might be less of them. The prices may go up, or they may have to make them in other ways. Maybe we won't use so much corn and fuel. So there's a whole lot of things to consider how we're going to get by, but the infrastructure is set to go that way. I mean, look at all the food that was thrown away this spring when a certain bug went around. Why? Because a lot of farms were set to sell straight to restaurants, and restaurants weren't buying anymore. They didn't have their supply chain set up to get it into the grocery stores, into you. And so a lot of food got plowed under. A lot of this food might have been food that would have been canned or stored too. I don't know. Restaurants are kind of opening up some now. Will they stay open? Will they close? What happens if there's a round number 2 and you know what? So there's a lot of threats. Our food supply is really under strain right now. So this is the time that you need to go out and you need to buy. You need to prep. Go out to the grocery stores and buy the dried beans, buy the macaroni, buy whatever will last you, the canned goods. But do bear in mind, if you have to bug out, those canned goods are really bulky, not going to carry them all. Seeds are a good bargain. So you should go to True Leaf Market. Check my link below for heirloom seeds. You need to grow your own garden. You can carry seeds easily. But also, the dehydrated food, freeze-dried fruit, that you get with with prepwithgreg.com. Hey, you send a carrying bucket, and you get each bucket's got a 2-week supply in it. For the 4-week supply, you get 2 buckets. And guess what? You can carry a lot of food pretty easily that way, and it's got a nice carrying handle. That's hard to beat. So go to prepwithgreg.com and go to True Leaf Market. Links below. Now, when you think about it, we are looking at all kind of mayhem coming down the road. Look at China. Seriously, you may have a famine there. Yeah, they had famines in the 50s. They didn't do a whole lot about it. But at that time, they didn't have a vast manufacturing capacity. China was not able to press their muscle around the world. This may be how they will try to feed their people. There's a lot of discontent there right now. It puts the regime in power at risk. And we do know that the dynasties there have not survived grand solar minimums in the past. Can they survive the challenges they're facing now? Whether you want to believe it's grand solar minimum or not, they're under a lot of stress. Can the powers that be stay in power? Actually, it is my hope that the people there will obtain freedom. They'll push against that and have a free society that can be very productive and good for the people there. But in the meantime, a lot of things could go down. The people in power don't want to lose that power. They may wag the dog to maintain, to distract their people from their travails. Offer them, so we're going to go over there and take that land, take that food, take that oil. They may march across the Middle East. They may go into Saudi Arabia. Come here. Take parts of Africa, India. Of course, they'd have a fight on their hands, but hey, they got a lot of young men that are unmarried, right? They have a little bit of excess of males, but those males are really loved and cherished by their families because that's the only kid they got. They're the little emperors. So just how far will they push it? Will they push it? There's a lot of questions here. We don't know the answers. We know what's in the prophecies, and it's highly interesting to read what's in some of the prophecies, but yeah, you can see the chess pieces lining up where things could become the truth. That's why I said we might be looking at the 4 horsemen. All right. Certainly, we're living in interesting times, and that is the old Chinese proverb, the curse. So it is, may you live in interesting times, and my friends, we're there. It's interesting here, it's interesting there. The world's under tremendous stress. So I beat on that enough. Just know this. Know that China imports from several countries. These countries have are putting trade embargoes on China. It's going both ways. So they've kind of shot themselves in the foot. And that may cause political instability when they're hungry. And people realize, hey, we bought food from all these guys, but our military adventurism, our aggressiveness has cost us food because of somebody's foreign policies. They might be a little less than happy, and maybe there'll be a change of power, and maybe there'll be a new institution of freedom. And that's what we'd like to see. We'd like to see freedom around the world, including right here. And we'd like to see some restoration of freedom. If you're interested in that, I have started, and I'm in the process of starting an organization called the Freedom Restoration Foundation. This is not the official coming out announcement yet, but it's in process. We're having meetings. We've got people across, we have some good groups of good people in different pockets of the United States that are meeting right now. The name Freedom Restoration Foundation we've decided upon, and temporarily an email address if you're interested in joining that and helping us out would be hal5space@aol.com, and to put freedom in the subject line. If you're interested in joining my survival tribes, put tribes in the subject line. We're also organizing survival tribes, so we're trying to make a difference. A lot of channels, a lot of preppers come on here. And there's some that also do some things and try to organize, but we're organizing and we're pushing. We're pushing for our freedom. So we're doing both. And I talk about power grid defense, and I've often told you things that you could do to help get the red heart to push for that. So, and I show you how to live off the wild edibles, the wild medicinals. I show you how to garden. I show you how to raise worms. I show you how to live without having to go to the store to buy supplies from your garden, how to garden from your worm farm, basically, your compost beds. So that's the kind of things I've covered in this channel. How to, and my proposition, what I'm living up here is to help you survive, thrive, and stay on the high. And that's what we're all about. So please, if you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe. Check the bell, click that bell, and click all for update notifications, all updates, and you'll get all these different videos I do. I do a wide range of subjects. And I actually ventured out talking about things in the solar system in the last video. A lot of people probably did not appreciate that, but I get people in every live chat asking me, Greg, what's going to happen? They're worried about things. You know, you can't worry about something you can't control. Honestly, there's no point in it. But there are things that we can control. And in that video, I was dispelling the fears about certain things coming in on us, like, you know, next month, like some channels are predicting. Some channels are saying next month we're going to have definitely see another solar system and the debris field coming at us and with impacts. Well, yeah, it's always possible to get an impact. It always is. There might be something way out there in the solar system, but we haven't found. But they've been looking hard. And I tell you, there's nothing coming in next month. See my previous video on that. Okay, I beat on enough. I really hope that everyone just pays attention and gets ready. As I've been telling you, the food is going to go up. And this is why. You got a nation of 1.4 billion hungry mouths. They're going to be buying as much food as they can, and they're not going to be able to get enough. That's going to drive up food prices. The fact that we're having supply issues in the United States now with that Derecho storm and other things like that coming at us, yeah, expect food to get short in supply and prices to increase. So get it now, get it while the getting's good. That's always one of our mottos. Get it while the getting's good. The getting is not going to get any better. So I'd say do what you can now to keep your family fed so that you can get through whatever is to come. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching and have a wondrous weekend.